Now we're going to move on to a section from our... Welcome to the Mod Squad, where we're just a bunch of people talking about anything pop culture and bandbox related. I'm your host, Kevin, and joining me as always is Felix.
What's up?
And Carrie is out this episode, but taking her place is one of our other moderators, Michael.
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem, man. Thank you for being here. So I do have a little bit of follow-up news from the Zack Snyder cut from Justice League. It looks like it is going to be
Kevin. Did you hear about the news from the Snyder cut? It's going to be over $30 million, man.
Oh, my God. Are you serious?
Dude, I crap you not. Because when the Snyder originally was going to do it, they say he asked WB for 60 to 70 million for... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
No, man, go ahead. You're doing just great, man. I mean, way to be a dick and steal the thunder, but it's okay.
No, but yeah, 60 to 70 million dollars, and WB was like, So I guess he told them he can do it for about 20, 30, knowing it was still going to be more. But at this point, they're probably going to give him what he needs.
Yeah, it's free advertising basically for HBO Max. So.
Well, and then if you think about it, they already spent all that money on it. A $70 million investment to generate the kind of income that it would generate just by releasing it, because it's what everybody wants. And the fact that the studios aren't making a whole lot of money because of the whole pandemic and the movie theaters being closed anyway. They'd be dumb not to give him what he wants.
Now we have a mail call. I personally do not have anything to show this week. How about you, Felix? Anything?
Nobody loves me.
Nobody loves you? I get it. Michael, how about you, sir? Do you have anything to show?
Yeah, I do. Actually, today was a damn good mail day for me. I picked up 6 autographs. You got Greg Valentine.
Nice.
He was before my time, but, not bad. You got Jerry Lawler.
The king,
another one. Yeah, he actually joined WWF after I stopped watching. He came around in 92, and I was kind of done at that point. But it's at least a name I recognize. Valentine, I had to look up. I didn't, he stopped like 3 years before I was born or something. Then I got Kevin Graveau. I had to look him up. He looked familiar, but he was the guy that co-wrote Underworld, and he was actually one of the Lycans in it too. So that
cool.
was a pretty good grab. James Duvall from Donnie Darko. He was the Greg the Bunny.
Okay,
that's a good one. We did him. He was one of the first damn horror.
Yeah, no, he was. Yeah. That was a good grab.
I think, yeah.
So it's one I already have, but it's still a pretty nice one to get. Then this one I was really happy about because it's one I've been trying to get for a while. Corbin Burnson from Major League.
Dorn.
I know someone's jealous.
You know I'm jealous, man. If our viewers know, that is in my top 5 favorite movies of all time is Major League.
It's a great one, and the only thing I don't like I wish it was one of the ones that, because he personalizes a lot of the baseballs and the stuff that he signs with strike the mother effer out. And I would have really liked to have had it inscribed with that. But you know what? It's this exact picture is one I've almost bought like 4 or 5 different times. I just didn't pull the trigger on it. Now I'm really glad I didn't, because I got it anyway.
Nice.
And then the other one that I got, which is a really good grab, I feel it's one that I would have liked to have in my collection for a while, is Nichelle Nichols from Star Trek. So got my Uhura, and now I've been on kind of a Star Trek kick ever since Adam did that box break of the Inflections, and I even got one of those too. Which was a really good one, but so now I've got her as well. So I'm rounding out my my original Star Trek cast autographs pretty well.
The only 2 I would want from the Star Trek is Spock, of course, and then I would want her second. Other than that, maybe Scotty, because I love the character, but
Nichelle Nichols, she was an unannounced guest at MegaCon 2 years ago. She was at a table, and she was just meeting people and talking to people, taking pictures with people without, taking money or anything. She is one of the nicest person I've ever seen at a con. Nicest celebrities, I should say.
And that's, I've heard that, and I'm really happy to hear that, because it always sucks when you find out that somebody that you like really respect or you know that you just are a big fan of, when you find out that they're just a jerk. You know, it's like
there's a reason why I didn't say William Shatner.
Yeah. You know what though? It's like I know people that have met him, and they talk about what a dick he is, and I think most of the time he is, but I know people that have met him, and he was really great too. So I think it really mattered on like, you know,
how you catch him, the day
how you catch them. And it's like, you know, like I've run into, like, I literally ran into his actual name, Harold Ramis. Thank you. You know, it just popped into my head. Literally ran into him when I was with my cousin downtown. He was running out of his hotel to get into a limo to go to a book signing or some sort of signing at a Barnes and Nobles or whatever. Runs out of the building, and I was like, you know, had a good clip going, and we literally ran into each other. And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," he ran. And I looked at my cousin. I'm like, "Was that Harold Ramis?" You know, and it was, and part of me was like rude. You know, he did just run into me. Like, if it was Harold Ramis, he totally could have stopped. And then the other item that I had gotten, just, you know, because I don't want to bogart too much time, is I got an Army helmet signed by Lori Petty, and it's inscribed Tank Girl. So that one's
that's pretty bad, man.
That's another one. I already have her autograph. I met her in person. I got it, you know, on an 8x10 photo, and she inscribed it. And I really like her signature. You know, the really Lori cool, Petty's kind of a mess, but the Tank Girl, you know, looks really nice.
I could see that, yeah.
And and it's just I can't. That movie is like, it's cheesy as hell, but it's probably in my top 10 of all time. I've watched it probably 100 times. She's great in it, so it's like I don't mind getting extras of hers.
We're going to be moving on to the meat of the show, actually. We are going to be reviewing a Netflix original movie, Six Underground, yes.
You should have told me. I would have watched it.
The synopsis is 6 individuals from all around the globe, each the very best at what they do, have been chosen not only for their skill, but for their unique desire to delete their past to change the future. I will say, I did not follow half of this movie. It skipped a lot, going from the past into the future. Going from the past into the present, and so on and so forth.
Is that why you stopped watching The Walking Dead? Because they do that a lot, and I don't see how people get so lost and say, I don't understand, because first they were doing this, and then now they're doing that. I'm like, it was a flashback. How do you
I get the flashback on The Walking Dead because they visually...
It's a different color or something, yeah.
Yeah, on this... I mean, I could follow it a little bit, but it did take me a minute to be okay. It's a flashback. Once I realized it, yeah.
The one scene in that movie that it took until because I've seen the movie 3 times now. I'm not gonna lie. It's now like one of my guilty pleasure movies, but until like the second or third time, I didn't realize there's a scene where he's at a bar and he's talking to the bad guy at an opera. And the way that it cuts to it, it almost like the first time I watched it, I thought it was happening in present day. Like I thought it was real time, you know, because it's such a hard cut to jumping to him at the opera. I was like, oh, okay, he's gathering intel on the guy. And then I watched it again and I was like, oh, holy shit, that was like 2 years ago. Yeah, and it was a flashback. So there were a couple of times where they didn't handle the flashbacks all that great. But for the most part, even when they didn't, it was really easy to like recover from it. It wasn't like there are some that are like really jarring in movies, but in this one, nothing pulled me out of the narrative. I enjoyed it, you know, in spite of that.
I followed all of the flashbacks. I mean, I don't know.
To me, this movie, to me, this movie reminded me a lot of, say, to compare it to another movie, The Expendables without all the big names. The only big name it had was Ryan Reynolds. It was full of action, but you didn't care about anybody.
I have to say I disagree. The driver, and I can't think of who his brother's a lot more famous. David
Franco's brother.
Yeah, DeFranco's brother. So Oh man, when he died, he was only in the movie for like 5 minutes.
I didn't think he was going to die right away like that.
It was such a shock, and I was bummed because out of all of those characters, him and like in that opening sequence, him and the CIA spook, I can't think of her name. I think she was 2. Those were my 2 favorite characters. So when they wiped him out right in the beginning, I was like, oh man. And then the guy that they replaced him with, 7, he was just kind of a prick, but it was like. It was a prick that I can appreciate because the way he acted is exactly how I was when I got out of the Army and still am at times.
He's the main reason why I chose to watch the movie. His name's Corey Hawkins. He was Dr. Dre in Straight Outta Compton. He was in the 24 reboot, the main character, and he was also in the greatest show of all time, The Walking Dead. He was Heath on The Walking Dead.
Okay, see, I knew I recognized him, and the whole time I'm watching the movie, I'm like, I know him from somewhere, but I don't know from where. And I've seen all of those things, so now I can put a face to the name, or a name to the face.
Yeah, I didn't totally. When I saw him, I'm like, he looks so familiar. I will say the visuals in this movie were freaking amazing.
Dude, the action, the explosions, and the asses. If I didn't see in the beginning that it said directed by Michael Bay, I would have watched this movie and thought, was this directed by Michael Bay?
Yeah. Well, I think in an interview, I think it was Ryan Reynolds that said that the chase scene in the opening of the movie is the most Michael Bay scene that's ever Michael Bay since Michael Bay started Michael Bay. And it's true because from start to finish, and that is one of the best car chases ever.
It wasn't bad, yeah. On top of everything, all the funny stuff and everything, the one scene that I laughed out loud and I stopped the movie and I totally text Kevin was when they're trying to talk with, I think, 4, and they're like, where are you at? And he goes, I am here.
Yeah, and where's here? Specificity.
And I totally changed Kevin's nickname in the chat to that because he gives you the least amount of information on anything, dude. I'm like, I bet you piss off your wife all the time. Didn't the mission totally remind you of The Man in the Iron Mask with Leonardo DiCaprio, where he's got the mask and he's like held somewhere in a dungeon or something, and his twin brother's a dick, and three musketeers go and
liberate him so that they could use him to replace the dick.
It totally reminded me of that.
That's probably what it was based off of, to tell you the truth.
Yes, and
that was the main mission.
Yeah. So basically the mission was, Ryan Reynolds, he's a billionaire because he makes magnets. And
speaking of magnets, the magnet scene at the end, I knew it was going to come back later in the movie, and it came back really, really good.
Yeah, but basically he's a billionaire, he makes magnets, and he was in some third world country, I can't even remember the country that they were in, and this dictator bombed the hospital and
the refugee camp.
The refugee camp. He gassed it, is what he did. He bombed it and gassed it while Ryan Reynolds was there, and that basically put him on the path to get all the recruits in to overthrow this dictatorship. All the other characters, even Ryan Reynolds, he's known as 1, and the next one is 2 and 3 and 4. You basically had an airwalker, which is basically one of these parkour guys. Parkour guys. Which he was my favorite guy. I'm not gonna lie. The stuff that dude did was freaking awesome to me. When he ran down that building at the very beginning, when he, like Felix, you said, I'm here, and he starts running down the building. I was like, dude. First of all, my wife says I call bullshit, and I'm like, I don't care. It's still awesome. It's freaking cool.
Oh yeah, no. The 90% of this movie is bullshit. Like, it requires a ridiculous amount of suspension of disbelief, but that's what makes it so awesome. It's fun. It's like, you want a thinking man's movie, go watch The Irishman or some other garbage like that. If you want a fun ride from beginning to end, watch a movie like Six Underground.
Yeah.
I was totally against it, and then we were trying to pick a movie, and I'm like, I want to see Train to Busan because I've been wanting to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pushing it at them, and Carrie and Kevin were like, no. They saw the trailer, and I saw this trailer, I want to say 2 times. I was like, it just seems like too much to me. But and then I didn't realize that was Corey Hawkins until the 3rd time I watched it. And I'm like, you know what, Kevin, I'm going to give this movie a chance just because I like this actor. Yeah, I like Ryan Reynolds too, but I like this actor.
Yeah.
And then Carrie has this gift that she loves, and I'm not going to get into the gift, but it really shows Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. And I thought that part was from this movie. So I was like, I don't really want to, but I'm going to be honest with you, Kevin, and I was just giving you shit earlier. I really liked it. I actually wanted to see it again. Look at y'all shocked.
It was a good movie. I just wish I cared more about the plot. It didn't set up the plot well enough for me to get...
It told you should care. It told you that Ryan Reynolds was really upset at, what happened at the referee. But see, you didn't feel it. It told you to feel it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
They rushed it a little bit. It was like, they, and I get it,
The flashbacks were too much too, I think. They didn't have a lot of the story, so they I want to say like more than half the movie's flashbacks.
Yeah.
It felt like it. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Sometimes Netflix does this. Maybe they'll do it with one of these movies, but I know they did it with Arrested Development, because one of the first season when Arrested Development was picked up by Netflix, they had a similar story structure where it was really like you didn't know what was a present day and then what was a flashback, and even when you picked it up, it was kind of jarring at times and it didn't flow well. And because there was so many people talking about how that happened, Netflix went ahead and re-edited the season so that it was told in chronological
order.
Yeah, and it made a lot, like, I enjoyed it the original way. I enjoyed it a lot more in chronological order. So who knows? Maybe they'll do that with 600 Ground too, or they'll just do a re-edit and it'll all be in chronological order.
And then the boy's like, you're all caught up. And then the next scene's another flashback.
It's another flashback, yeah. It's a Michael Bay movie.
Exactly.
You're there for the action, you're there for the fun. The plot is always secondary. As long as he has enough explosions and tasty on the screen, most people aren't going to care. And this movie has both.
It's funny, at the end of the movie when it flashed by Michael Bay, my wife goes, no wonder a lot of the sounds sounded like Transformers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the magnet sounds?
Yeah.
Were in there. That was like right out of Transformers.
Yeah, basically Ryan Reynolds puts these huge magnets on a yacht, and there's this huge fight scene, and he can turn the magnets to go either way, and whatever will sling to one side.
The gun, and then the
grenade,
and the gun would go. Yeah,
yeah. It's well, I recommend this movie. Yeah, I do recommend this movie.
For context, too, the reason why they can be on the boat with all the guns and not go flying around. And they explain it, and they do an okay job, but it is kind of rushed. All their weapons are made out of ceramic and plastic. Their body armor is Kevlar woven into ceramic. So none of their stuff is metal. So when they turn the magnets on, they're okay. But you see every dude on this boat is flying around, and they've got the shish kebab skewers are hitting them all and like piercing them to the walls and stuff. I mean, it was great. I loved it.
A lot of action, not so much a lot of gore or...
No, like the only really gory thing was when the dude shoved the flashbang grenade in the guy's mouth and his head blew up.
Basically.
And that was off screen, though.
Yeah, but his body did fall on the screen, though, so you do see a bloody stump for a neck. But other than that, yeah, it was tasteful violence, I guess, would be the best way to say it. It wasn't like in your face.
All right. So are we all in agreement that we would recommend this movie?
Yeah, if you want to have fun, yeah. If you want a action movie that's serious, no. But if you want to have fun, I definitely, yeah.
And I had a little thing that I thought of when I was watching the movie, and this might, for people on the fence, this might make them dive all in and want to watch it, and it might make them go, nah, I'm okay with it. But if you watch the movie and you think about it when you're watching it, like Felix, you said you want to watch it again, go into it thinking that it's a sequel to Van Wilder. and it makes it that much more enjoyable because Ryan Reynolds always plays Ryan Reynolds, and that's not a critique.
I was just going to get into that.
Ryan Reynolds, every character he plays is him, and it's perfect because he's a character. So, but you watch this movie, and a lot of the quips that his character has, and just the way kind of he engages with everybody, it reminds me of watching Van Wilder. So it's like I just watched I watched it again today just to refresh because it'd been a couple of months. But I watched it today and I was like, you know what? The whole time I just pictured it that this is what Van Wilder did after his marriage with Tara Reid fell apart, and he just said screw it, and he went full vigilante, and it was a logical conclusion to Van Wilder. This was the sequel we deserved.
Okay. To me, I agree that he's always played it, even in that Sandra Bullock movie too.
The Proposal or whatever.
Yeah, The Proposal. But ever since Deadpool, man, he plays Deadpool to me. And it just like you said, his corpse and everything. I do believe in this movie. He's narrating it here and there, and I just hear Deadpool. I was waiting for him to knowingly look at the camera like he knew we were watching, and he never did. He did a really good job of not breaking the fourth wall, but it was just he engaged through the narration. He kind of did break the fourth wall. So yeah, it was basically a Deadpool side story.
But yeah, I get it. I didn't get Deadpool from it. If I got anything, it was the guy from Blade Trinity that I got.
Yeah, I can see that. But again, I mean, that's every character he's ever played. That's
exactly. All right, so let's rate this movie in band boxes. I'm going to give this, out of 5 band boxes, I'm going to give this a 4. 4 band boxes. How about you, Felix?
For a good time, I'll give it 2 and almost a third. 2.3 band boxes.
I was rating mine on the fun factor and would I have turned it off? No, I kept watching it. So, how about you, Michael?
You know what? I'm going to push that up to a 3 band boxes. Sorry, Michael. The gamer box, the geek box, and the horror box, because I do want to see it again. And 3 is that just good enough that I want to see it again. So I'll do the 3 boxes.
All right. How about you, Mike?
You know what? Honestly, like I said, it's just crazy, stupid fun. I love the chase scene alone in the beginning. The first 5 minutes of the movie, I think, earned 3 boxes. I don't know if I would quite go as far as 5, but it's one of those movies now that I think is going to be on solid rotation anytime I just want something, like loud in the background. And again, like I said, you got explosions and you've got attractive people and you've got, fun fight scenes and everything like that. I have to go at least like a 4.5, on this one.
Really?
So it's a fun movie from beginning to end. Like
it is.
As long as you're not obviously movie snobs, they're not going to like it. And and I'm not saying that negatively. It's just one of the, it's the people that like Citizen Kane are not going to like this movie. If you're not movie snob, cinephile. If you're a cinephile, you're not going to like this movie. If you just like crazy, stupid fun, you're going to like it.
If you like the Expendables, you're going to like this movie.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Kevin, or wait, you brought up Arrested Development, Michael. But I currently just finished the Ozark on Sunday. And, it's not like, wow, you got to see this and that. But just in short, Jason Bateman plays a financial advisor that gets mixed up with the cartel. And just basically everything that can happen does happen. And we went 3 seasons. All 3 seasons, there was a shock in it. There was I couldn't wait for the ending. And this last one had her crying while we were watching it. And it's a good show. If you're like, there's something out there you guys want to binge, that's about 3 seasons long. And I hope they greenlight it for a 4th season because Netflix is with 3 seasons and they're
yeah.
So I hope they do. But the Ozark, just watch a trailer, watch the first couple episodes. If you like it, you'll love the show. I strongly suggest.
All right.
That's cool. You know what? I got a suggestion too. I've started a new show to watch. It's on Amazon Prime.
Amazon. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, it's called Upload. It's basically right before you die, you can upload your conscience to a virtual reality program, and it's basically like The Sims on steroids.
Is that the one with Robbie Amell?
I'm not sure who stars in it, to tell you the truth.
Okay. I'll have to look it up because I saw a trailer for something that sounds familiar with him in it, and it's on my list, but I haven't watched it yet. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No problem. I'm only like 4 episodes in, and it's right now it's starting to turn into a murder mystery / love story. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to me it's interesting. The visuals on it are really good. Just the way that this whole world is operating.
It sounds so familiar. It sounds like a movie I've seen.
There are movies that have similar narrative hooks where your consciousness gets uploaded. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it's one I wanted to check out. I got a suggestion for you guys. I'm like 2 episodes behind on it now, and unfortunately, from what I heard, it's on the chopping block, so it might not get picked up for a second season. But so far, the first season has been a really fun run. It's called Motherland, Fort Salem, and it's basically an alternate U.S. history where in the Salem witch trials, one of the witches that was being persecuted negotiated a treaty with the United States government, and even though they weren't the United States yet, it was the people who eventually became the United States government that basically conscripted all witches into the United States military. So there's a magical arm of the United States Army. And cool. It follows a group of girls as they hit their 18th birthday, and they have to conscript and they have to go to Fort Salem. It's a typical like teen drama type thing. Like there's a lot of that type stuff in it, like that you would get from like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and stuff like that. And they try to tackle social issues. Just some of the ways that they've reimagined the United States with this and everything. It's a fun show. I've enjoyed it so far. Like of course, like with any show, there's the romance subplots that muddy the waters, and like I think they focus a little bit too much on it at times. But from start to finish, like I think there's 10 episodes for the season. I think I've watched 8 of them. I've enjoyed it.
Where can you find it?
So far. I think it's on Hulu the day after it airs on the cable station that it's on. Okay. And I think, but I can't remember that for the life of me. Like it's one of those things I can't remember the cable station, but I believe It's Hulu. It shows up on the day or 2 after it airs on the other station.
Is it on Freeform maybe?
That's it. It's one of those ones that I can never remember.
Now we're going to move on to questions asked by our subscribers or our members. And this question is asked by Mr. Chuck Gilbert. He asked,
hey, Chuck.
I'm going to change this up a little bit. Since we're running a little long, I'm not going to do the top 5. I don't want to do another list right now, but we will list our top graphic novel or comic book for anybody. My top graphic novel that I have read is Superman Red Sun. Love the story. It is classic. It's actually now out on DVD. There's an adaptation of it for animated on DVD. But for me, the graphic novel is far superior to the movie. It's one of my favorite stories of all time. Love it.
To make it short, boom. Walking Dead, man. You can't. I've read the whole series 3 to almost 4 times. I'm like at 100 right now. I'm like 4th. I love the way it ended. Just the show too.
You prefer the comic to the show, or the show to the comic?
That's a good question. Being a huge fan, dude, I love the way the comic ended. It ended so perfect, man. I would have to say the show. Just not really thinking about it. I would have to say the show. Then the comics, just because I did get into the show before the comics.
Yeah.
Gotcha. How about you, Michael? Do you have any graphic novel or comic that you enjoy?
I do, and I actually have a toss-up between 2. it would be either I don't think they've compiled it into a graphic novel yet, but it would be the Age of Apocalypse story arc in the X-Men comics. I thought that was a really cool take on it, or The Killing Joke. Yeah, and it's great, and there's an adaptation of that one as well that's animated, and I'm not a huge fan. So
I didn't like the add-on to that. The beginning that they added on to that. Yeah, that was so bad.
It added a whole.
I heard it was really bad.
Yeah, it was. If you can cut there was an additional plot between Batman and Batgirl that was unnecessary, and it honestly, I think it lessened the impact of the story. So if you watch it, Felix, if you haven't seen it, I would say I'll even give you the timestamp. Fast forward past a certain point. Yeah, and just skip that part, and then after that, it's enjoyable. It's still not as good as the comic book, and if you've never read it, I highly recommend doing that to anybody that's watching this. Especially if you've seen the cartoon and you've never read the comic, do yourself a favor and check out the comic.
Okay. Agreed, definitely.
Really quick about the band box, the Geek box is capped, sold out. The horror box is capped, sold out. We do have the new gamer box. I would jump on that. The numbers are really, really going up. And last but not least, Kevin.
The Back to the Future big box is sold out.
Yeah.
It went fast. This is the fastest sellout fan box has ever done of a big box.
You will not regret this autograph.
Absolutely not. It's
on top of it, Beckett COA.
Yeah.
Agreed. And I do believe that does it for this episode of the Mod Squad. So for Michael and Felix, I'm Kevin saying keep on bamming, bammers.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, what's up? Yeah, what's up?